place for a number of years. Our first guest speaker is her mother Astasakhi, who will be speaking, and she was also a pujari for their lordships for a number of years, from what I understand, and we're hoping that she will share all of her profound and deep realizations and experiences of serving their lordships. After this, we're going to have His Holiness Janananda Maharaj, who will also be speaking. So please let us express our gratitude and appreciation for both these wonderful devotees by chanting very loudly 3 Haribol. Haribol! 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 Mother Astasakhi, K.
Hare-Krishna, everybody. I'm very honored, humbled to be in your presence, and especially before the wonderful and most beautiful special deities, Radha-Krishna, Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Gonitai, and Giri Govardhan. Yeah. First of all, I'd like to offer my most humble obeisances, millions and millions of times, Pushpanjali, at the dust of the lotus feet of my spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamane. Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pacharane Narusesha Sunivani Kaskacharane Shatane. I'd like to offer my most humble obeisances to my godbrother and sannyas, Janananda Goswami. And I'd like to offer to my dear god sisters, and I don't know if I've got any other god brothers, and then I would like to offer to all the wonderful devotees, sadhus sitting here today to hear from me. I had been told originally to speak about deity worship. It's a huge topic, deity worship, and I'll just come to a point where when Srila Prabhupada came, he gave us the deities and installed the deities, and he gave us a very simple way of doing deity worship. Srila Prabhupada had broken up the day into the 8 pastimes, Astakliya pastimes, of Radha-Krishna in Vrindavan and Gokul. So every day Radha and Krishna are meeting for their arti. And every day at arti, every paraphernalia that is offered to Radha and Krishna, in our hearts, there's a significant meaning for every paraphernalia. Well, I won't go into that today. Just do a very quick synopsis so that I can go through my pastimes with Radha-Nandanishwara and Srila Prabhupada. But every article that is offered to Radha and Krishna is in our hearts to bring them together more. Yeah. It's all done with love, and it's all to bring them together with love. We did not know that at the time when they were installed. It's only by reading extensive scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, that we've actually realized, how much we must give. But having Srila Prabhupada here and coming to then very place and physically showing us the amount of love when he did an arti for the deities, we tried to replicate that in our hearts without the knowledge of Shastra. And this is even Srila Prabhupada would say, one time, clap, and everything will be revealed before the deity, and it will, because Srila Prabhupada said it would. So this love that Srila Prabhupada had, and it gave us at the time of a simple deity worship, was done with total love. And I'm going to explain a few instances where Srila Prabhupada appeared at Berry Place and showed myself, and I was a pujari with Leela Shakti. I want to explain something about Leela Shakti, that we must honor her service, and she was so dearly loved and is loved by Srila Prabhupada, and was a great hero for the early days of Radha-Landaneshwara. She taught me everything. First it was Balagopala, Jamuna and Balagopala for me, and then Leela Shakti. And I became the pujari of Shrimati Radhika, and I became the pujari of Lord Jagannath and half of Subhadra. Because they were up about 6 feet high on an altar way above Radha and Krishna, and we could only bathe them once a week. And then it was done by mantra, but up a ladder, and we would have to change them like that. I would change Lord Jagannath, and then we would half change together, half our side of Subhadra. There's a very incredible story about Lord Jagannath, and I think because we've had so many, we started the week with Lord Jagannath, I will tell you this story on how these deities are all so alive and are aware of everybody's service and devotion and love. Leela Shakti and I, it was 1972. I joined in 1971, and I was in Berry Place from 1972, and it was towards, were you there when Lord Jagannath fell off? Was that in the spring?
I think so.
Yeah, it was the springtime in 1972. I was on the top of the ladder. Leela Shakti had gone out of the deity room, and I was I'd taken Lord Jagannath's clothes off, and I was wiping him down with a damp cloth like we did every Sunday. Leela Shakti was out of the room. As I leaned over to do Subhadra, Lord Jagannath started to rock like this, back and forwards. And I turned, and I could see that he was going to fall off the altar or jump up. And
It was springtime.
it was spring, yeah, spring up the altar. My thought was to protect him. I, that Jiva, could actually protect Lord Jagannath. So I jumped in front of Lord Jagannath and grabbed his arms, knowing that if he fell onto the marble floor, he would get hurt. So I didn't think of myself at the time. I grabbed hold of Lord Jagannath's arms, and the ladder went that way, thankfully, behind Radha Landaneshwara. And I grabbed Lord Jagannath's hand, and I went flying down, straight on my back, onto a marble floor, with Lord Jagannath on top of me, holding him. And all I could think of was, is he hurt? Leela Shakti had heard the bang and come running in, and she thought I was dead. And all I could think of was that Lord Jagannath might have been hurt, and I was kissing his cheeks and stroking him like I was a mother. And do you know, they had to get, was it 2 or 3 devotees, or 2 or 3, to lift Lord Jagannath off me. And they thought I would need a paramedic and an ambulance. Do you know I didn't have one bruise on me? Not one. Yeah. And I never understood that until these years now, that Lord Jagannath, he completely saved me. And that was because I had surrendered everything with my heart and my mind and my thoughts and my love to give to Lord Jagannath. And I had completely done it in that mood. And I hadn't had time to think. All I had time to do was do. And we often hear about devotees and sannyasis coming and explaining about surrender. How we must surrender everything, our hearts, our minds, and sometimes we're not sure. Well, I've given up my life, I've given up my home, I have actually surrendered. But there's a story that we must always remember about what it means to surrender. And it was only when I understood about this story in Chaitanya Charitamrita that I actually understood what it meant. At that moment in time, I gave everything to Lord Jagannath, not just my life, basically. I was willing to risk my life for Lord Jagannath. You know, even though it was momentarily, I was willing. So King Pataparudra, we know, was a great king, and he had the mercy of Advaitacharya, Lord Nityananda, everybody, but he couldn't get the darshan of Lord Chaitanya. He was willing to surrender his kingdom, his wealth, everything. In fact, he used all his wealth for the Rath-yatras. And still, he could not get the darshan of Lord Chaitanya. And it was, I mean, even Lord Nityananda, Advaitacharya, all the Panchatattva would go to Lord Chaitanya and beg him, please, he's got our mercy, please give him darshan. No. Lord Chaitanya was insistent. No, he wouldn't. Then comes the Rath-yatra, and King Pataparudra had arranged to be the sweeper for Lord Jagannath in front of the cart, all the way. But as he started to sweep, he realized that all the sand was going up into the eyes and mouth of Lord Jagannath, and he became very disturbed. So he sent for thousands of buckets of sandalwood water and paste to be thrown in front of the Rath-yatra car all the way. And as he swept, the sand stayed down on the ground, and only the aroma of the sandalwood came up to Lord Jagannath. While Lord Chaitanya was doing this Rath-yatra so beautifully, he in his heart could see that King Pataparudra, what he had done for Lord Jagannath. He had used all his heart, his mind, his senses to please Lord Jagannath. And that melted completely Lord Chaitanya's heart. And he gave King Pataparudra immediately darshan of himself. So when I fell off that altar, and I hadn't had any thought in my mind but to protect Lord Jagannath. But it was only when I understood the story. Well, you do know that Chaitanya Charitamrita is covered by Krishnadas Kaviraj, has put a covering over it. And it's only when you surrender with love, with compassion, mercy, without criticism, is that removed, so you can see the pastime. So I've gone all these years, and only recently has it been starting to be removed. And then you begin to see the pastime, and not only see the pastimes, but you start to feel them in the heart. And that's when I understood about Lord Jagannath, what I did then, and what I have to do in the future and every day. That these realizations are coming, and that is not to think of myself, to serve and perform bhakti, pure bhakti, Krishna bhakti, with every part of your senses, with your heart, your mind, in every way that you can, for the pleasure of the Lord. So I'll come to Radha-Krishna. Leela Shakti and I many times had Srila Prabhupada come to us, and he would stay in Berry Place. We were extremely full. We had 2 rooms for the women. Each room was like 8 by 10, not even that. And we had 3 bunks on one wall, 3 bunks on another, and 2 devotees each on each one.
Wow.
Yeah, and we kept our luggage at the top of our heads, basically went to sleep on it. This is how we lived in Berry Place. And George, it's going to be an evening of George at the Manor tonight, but George Harrison would come about 5 or 6 in the evening at Berry Place, and he just loved to sit quietly looking at the deities and chanting. And Leela Shakti and I got to know him very well. In fact, I became their cook, and I would cook prasadam for the Beatles at the studios, and I taught Brian Epstein how to cook, and a few others. But one time he came with a young lady, with a child, and he wanted to have her join, and Leela Shakti and I took him up to our rooms where we lived, and we showed him where we lived. And he went, "Oh my goodness, I had no idea how you live, this is insane." He said, "You need a new place." And that was exactly almost at the same time that Srila Prabhupada told Dhananjaya to tell George, we need a bigger place. So, just jumping ahead a little bit, I was also in Berry Place with my husband at the time. Just before we got, he was the president, just before we got Soho Street. And this is something that you must all know, that when we got Soho Street, Srila Prabhupada did not want us to buy it at first, because he said, the first thing he said, it's too small. And we assured Srila Prabhupada at that time that this would be a stepping stone to a bigger place. So I need to, although there's so much ras in here because of Radha Landaneshwar, Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, in a small temple like this, I think we need to put our hearts, our minds now together to get a bigger place for Radha Landaneshwar. Krishna is in charge of London, and we need a bigger place for him. It's been 20 years now, so we must do that. When Srila Prabhupada would come to see Radha and Krishna, is it 40? 40 years.
You lost track of time.
Oh my goodness.
40 years.
Doesn't it go quick? It has been on Jain Nitai's mind for many, many years, but now I want it to be on all your minds, everybody's mind, that Krishna here needs a bigger place. When Srila Prabhupada would come to Berry Place, and one time I was doing arti, and we were told all day long that Srila Prabhupada was coming, and he would come even though we had less devotees there, because in 73 we got Bhaktivedanta Manor. But he would come and we would have to vacate the room which was next, which had his bathroom and his darshan and room that he stayed in. But we were waiting all day for Srila Prabhupada. It came to Sunda Arti and I did not expect Srila Prabhupada to appear. And he did, halfway through the Arti. And I can't tell you how incredible. You never lose that understanding, that feeling of having Srila Prabhupada right beside you. And then the Vyasasana of Srila Prabhupada was right that side, right next to the altar. And so I knew that something amazing had happened. I had my eyes on the deities. And I turned and there was Srila Prabhupada sitting on the Vyasasana. And to have that experience, to actually serve Srila Prabhupada in that mood, just sitting there. And there's been a few times over the years that I've actually personally seen Srila Prabhupada sitting on the Vyasasana. So he is actually there. It's not that that's just a murti. He is actually there. So I turned to do arti to Srila Prabhupada, and the devotees were going crazy. The altar and the temple room was all one. So when they danced on the altar, on the floor, the altar would dance as well, and so would the deities. And I was doing arti, and it was like, oh my goodness, they're going to fall off the altar. They're dancing because we hadn't had that many devotees in the temple room dancing like that, and especially if Tribhuvanatha was there, it was outrageous. And it was outrageous. So as they were dancing, and the altar was also dancing, and Krishna's crown came down to here. And I looked at Srila Prabhupada and what am I going to do? You don't touch the deities in an assembly with people watching. You don't do that. That's one of the rules that Srila Prabhupada had given us in the deity worship. And I looked at Srila Prabhupada and I was asking in my mind, shall I just fix the crown, or shall I close the curtains and fix the crown? And then I went, Srila Prabhupada, what shall I do? And he nodded. And I was thinking, which one? Which one? And I thought maybe he means the first one because he nodded once. So I went to Krishna, washed my hands, went to Krishna to fix the crown, and I looked at Srila Prabhupada and he nodded. So I was able to fix the crown of Krishna while Srila Prabhupada was on the Vyasasana and while all the devotees were going crazy. And then it came to the Jayam prayers, and of course Srila Prabhupada led the Jayam prayers. And as I was the Pujari for Radharani, I had made sure that her bouquet had fitted in closely to her hand, and I think the Pujaris might understand, I blue-tacked it in as well to make sure it wouldn't drop out. And during the Jayam prayers there was an almighty clatter on the altar, and the bouquet had flown out of her hand and fallen right down across the altar to near the picture of Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada hesitated at one point in his prayers, and I picked up the flower and I looked at it and I gave it to Srila Prabhupada, and he had big tears coming down his eyes. At any time he would come to Radha and Krishna in London, he would just stand and look at them. And many times Leela Shakti and I, we would be standing either side or just at one side, and Srila Prabhupada would cry. There were many tears. And you know when you offer the conch shell that is full of water, that water represents the tears of Radha and Krishna when they meet. It is so beautiful that when they meet they cry. So it represents for us that when we see Radha and Krishna, we must shed those tears. And it was only since hearing, which is so important for all of us, certain shastras, that you can actually understand this. That every article has that meaning, but Srila Prabhupada was exhibiting everything. There wasn't a time or a place that Srila Prabhupada wasn't thinking or loving in terms of Radha and Krishna. 1973 was a phenomenal year for Srila Prabhupada. We got Bhaktivedanta Manna. Srila Prabhupada stayed at Bhaktivedanta Manna the whole of the summer of 1973. And that's when he never slept. Srila Prabhupada slept maybe half an hour a night, writing, translating, mostly Chaitanya Charitamrita. And we had that incredible Rath Yatra. I was Lord Jagannath's Pujari in 1973. Srila Prabhupada, the day before Rath Yatra, he was supposed to stay the night at Berry Place, and he didn't. So we were a little disappointed. So we brought Lord Jagannath down into the temple room, ready for the vans to come to take him to Rath Yatra. And Srila Prabhupada turned up. Leela Shakti had gone on to Rath Yatra. Most of the devotees, it was just myself and the deities ready to be, and the devotees to load them in. And I'd actually forgotten this pastime. It was only when I saw Mohan, thank you. It was only when I saw Mohan that he had captured it all on film. So it is all there on film. And Srila Prabhupada, Malati had previously told me that Srila Prabhupada had sent me an instruction, and that was to have a very regal outfit for 1973 for Lord Jagannath. So I'd made a beautiful gold cloak with a very high collar, like a king, all in gold and red clothes. And Lord Jagannath was there in the temple room waiting to be loaded. And I was very lucky that I was able to take Srila Prabhupada into that temple room in 1973. He came into that temple room, stopped, and was absolutely spellbound. He lay down on the floor, and I didn't think Srila Prabhupada was going to get up. There must have been 5 minutes that Srila Prabhupada was just lay absolutely flat in front of Lord Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra. And I kept looking at the clock and thinking, oh my goodness, Srila Prabhupada, what if he doesn't get up? I mean, you think those things, and yet it was so beautiful. And when Srila Prabhupada got up, he was also had in his eyes. And he said, now Rath Yatra can begin. And I knew that something absolutely phenomenal was going to happen at Rath Yatra. That is all caught on video as we came out with Srila Prabhupada and Lord Jagannath by Mohandas. He's departed now. He's probably there with Srila Prabhupada. And at Rath Yatra, I was on the Rath Yatra cart with Lord Jagannath and Leela Shakti and everybody else. And then Srila Prabhupada started this incredible dance that we've all seen, where he would dance and dance and dance, and every so often he would look at Lord Jagannath. But what you didn't know, that Lord Jagannath was doing this, moving every time Srila Prabhupada looked at Lord Jagannath. And I was there on the altar and I saw Lord Jagannath move, absolutely worried he was going to jump up the wrath cart and join Srila Prabhupada. No. But that reciprocation that Srila Prabhupada had for Lord Jagannath was just, you would never forget it. There was that connection there between both of them. It was unbelievable, you know. And yes, that was the amazing Rath Yatra that was historical, absolutely. When we were in London, we were very poor at that time. We got back to Vedanta. We'd lost a lot of devotees. So the first thing you do when you lose all the devotees, we have to make some. So I was a pujari working almost 20 hours a day, but Leela Shakti didn't speak any English, very little. So it was, we're short, we need another devotee, a good one, a pujari, we need somebody to help us. So I remember going to St. Anne's Square with books and chanting, and then I met this devotee, this girl, who happened to be training as an architect, and I spoke to her and she came back to Berry Place and she never left. And her name is Jarastita. She became the wife of Richard Taveria, yeah. And do you remember Jarastita? Yeah, so we made her a devotee. Then in those days, having to do something for Radha and Krishna, even when Hamsadutta took all our money away, he became the GPC and resided in the manor, and decided that they can't pay the deities anymore of London. So, I mean, I collapsed when I was told. Leela Shakti fell on the floor because we were working 20 hours a day. We'd only made a few devotees to help us, and then we were told there was no more money. So we were told, that's the first time we went out. We made a bucket with a little, then it was kind of legal. It wasn't, charities were, it wasn't like it is today with rules, regulations and like that. We went out with a bucket and a picture of a little, just stating about that we have a little boy called Krishna who's an orphan and has no money. Well, I can't tell you how much money we made. We decided then, when Hamsadutta told us we wouldn't be allowed any money for the deities, Leela Shakti immediately wrote to Srila Prabhupada. And we knew it would take about 2 months before we got a reply, because he was in India. So we knew we had to sustain Radha and Krishna. So this was the interim, where we could go out in the afternoon. We took on extra duties, and we only had about 2 hours. But I can't tell you how much money we made. We were so abundant. And we decided, because it was the men that had taken the money away, that we wouldn't give the maha to the men. Sorry about that. Well, we decided we wouldn't give the men any maha. We would have it. And because we had so much money for Bhoga, and they were all starving because they had no money. And Krishna was so happy, he had so much money and flowers, it looked like a florist every day, that we were able to get a little car for Krishna so we could go quicker. and get back quicker. Yeah? And at that time, we were making clothes for Radha Londonishwara. And this is the famous time when we had a lot of money. We could make the most beautiful outfit. And we'd heard from Malati in India that Srila Prabhupada liked this particular outfit with all jari on. Well, we couldn't send our clothes to India to have jari. We had no money. We had to do it there. So we would take trips down to Southall and buy these beautiful jaris, and we would place them on our outfits. And that Srila Prabhupada was so happy with that outfit. He wanted it published on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the old Srimad Bhagavatam pictures, there is one picture of Radha Londonishwara in that outfit. So that story behind that outfit was that Radha and Krishna had no money at the time because of the GBC had a silly ruling in its head that Krishna wasn't going to get any money. In fact, when he drove up to Berry Place in an old car that was black smoke coming out of it, he parked it right behind our nice deity car, and we were able to dress ourselves in silk, which we were supposed to do on the altar, not rags. So we got out of our car in silks, and he parked behind us in this old jalopy thing, and could not believe it, because he had no money, they were all starving, and we were in abundance. We were all fat. Radha and Krishna were eating so much that it was incredible. So they decided to give us the money back, and that we didn't have to go out and do this anymore. And at the same time, we got a letter from Srila Prabhupada. Lila Shakti has that letter. So my memory is not so good, so I'll explain it, but maybe one day she can show that letter to everybody. Because Srila Prabhupada basically said that, that if you do not worship the deity first, you will go to hell. Everything you do, especially if you have Radha and Krishna, if you don't do it for Radha and Krishna first, you will go to hell. It was more involved than that, but that is what I fully understood. That Radha and Krishna come first. They're everything. They're our lives. Like when I fell off the altar, I wanted to give my life. This is what they do for us. They're our lives, they're our soul, they're everything. And when we got more expert in ISKCON got more established, we did get the Mula mantras, how to do the deity worship properly with the Mula mantras, but even so, if you don't have it with the intention, because a canister adhikari has to move quickly up to Madhyam. He has to move very quickly and then go higher. And if you're feeling dry and you're going nowhere, then obviously you're not doing something right. And especially not with the deities, you're not giving your heart. So the saruk of every mantra you have to realize in your heart. It can't just be done complacently. You've got to realize these things. And that means to give your heart and everything. There's some very incredible slokas by Rupa Goswami and Lord Chaitanya in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I won't go into them, but that you must realize, and it explains everything that I've said, how to give your heart. Now, it comes to 1973, I'll just give one quick thing and then you can talk. In 1973 was, Srila Prabhupada came for Srimati Radhika's appearance day. And I'd been up for nights sewing on sequins. Lila Shakti loved her sequins, but we had to sew them on one by one, and it took nights. And they were wearing a silver and pink outfit, and I put pink sequins on a silver outfit one by one. And I remember that day sitting in front of Srila Prabhupada, And I was thinking, and he was, that 1973 lecture is recorded, but he also spoke shortly after that, after Mohan had turned off the tape. So Srila Prabhupada, I was thinking, very tiredly, and Srila Prabhupada, I was thinking, oh, Srimati Radhika, and he was saying how she notices everything. You offer everything to Radharani's hand like this, and she will offer it to Krishna. She sees everything you do, and she will offer it to Krishna. And as Srila Prabhupada was saying this, I was thinking, oh, I wonder, would she notice each sequin? Would she notice? And Srila Prabhupada, the tape had just gone off, and he said, and she will notice each sequin. Every little bit of service you do, she notices. And she will say to Krishna, hey Krishna, look at this nice devotee. Yeah. So, thank you very much. It's been an honor to speak with you all, and I'm so grateful to Radharani and Ishvara throughout my life. When I got married, in front of them, I had this dreadful feeling of loss, and I never fully understood it until years later when I realized I should never have left them. So you're very fortunate. Never leave Radharani and Ishvara. Stay with the temple.
Radha-Krishna. What to say to follow on from that incredible, intimate, transcendental relationship with Srila Prabhupada and Lord Jagannath and Radharani Ishvara. I never had such experiences. Om Jnanatinamandasya Jnanandana Chakshuramatanena Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapritam Yeyudane Swayamukaram Dadati Shvara Namo Vishnudaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasade Nirvasesha Sanyavadi Paschatari Sadhari Shri Shri Radha London Ishwara ki jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai. All glorious to all the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Have you ever wrote these stories down, Asta?
No.
It would be nice to, because your memory is whatever it is certainly better than ours, and everybody else will probably forget or get it all mixed up, because it's being recorded. It's being recorded, right? So it'd be nice to get those. I've not heard many of those stories you just told. I've not heard them before. I mean, I was around when Lord Jagannath, I didn't know really went off. I was a brahmachari in Bury Place at that time. And amazing. I mean, Bury Place, what can you say? I had very little experience of deity worship, so I'll leave that to those who have that good fortune. I did have a lot of experience in the financial world, very strong UK, from 73 to 76, being the treasurer for both temples, Manor and Bury Place. So I won't go there either because I was the rascal go-between, so to speak. There was a lot more to it. I won't go there either because it's another chapter of ISKCON UK, which you don't usually read about. I'll leave that for another time. I was thinking of speaking about something a little bit, maybe a little bit different. You had the wonderful association of so many Vaishnavas and Vaishnavas. I really loved last night. Arundhati is gone, but I don't think she's gone. The manor, they're gone because Shamsundra Prabhu and Guru Das was speaking. Understand? So Arundhati Mata was speaking so nicely last night, and one of the things she said was how much she loved Bury Place, and I didn't know time was there, but I just wanted to mention one thing on that was that her husband at the time, Pradyumna Prabhu, and Pradyumna was one of the most lovely devotees in himself. I only knew him from my perspective. A very sweet relationship. He was always very kind to me. And one day we were outside the temple. I can't remember the year. Obviously it was sometime. It could have been any time, 70 something or not. Well, he was with Prabhupada in 72. So most likely it was 72. And we were still outside. Pradyumna was an amazing personality. And he kissed the wall of Bury Place. And he said, I love this temple. And he kissed the wall. He is so attached to Prabhupada's temple in Bury Place. It's a very special place. We were there yesterday. Perhaps some of you go there from time to time just to feel the vibration's still there. You can feel Prabhupada walking in and out of Bury Place even now. You can feel him getting, that's how I feel when I go there. Getting in and out of the car. You see pictures of Prabhupada, the devotees, running after him, or going for a walk in Russell Square or wherever he would go. So many walks, so many pastimes in Bury Place there in Prabhupada. But I myself, I'm not qualified, and neither did I have much intimate pastimes with Srila Prabhupada there. I would like to just share some of the... It's like, if you have a powerhouse, we have the sun, but we have powerhouse also. And how to understand the qualities of that powerhouse. How to understand the qualities of the sun. By the effects of the sun. By the reflection, maybe, of the sun also. And how Srila Prabhupada was manifesting, or giving his association in an amazing way. Even though we, just like now, you may not have the direct opportunity to have the Vapu of Srila Prabhupada directly, although we do in a sense. We certainly have the chance to associate him with Vani. Although both are really important, Srila Prabhupada emphasized the Vani as being the most significant. We understand the Vapu by serving the Vani. So we never knew that either. But the mood, when I first came to the temple in Bury Place, I think you came the same year, did you get initiated on Trafalgar Square? Or before? So you were just before, early 72? Yeah. You were in the earliest, there was a... 71. Late 71. 72. Because I remember you on Trafalgar Square, 72 Trafalgar Square. Yeah. So, Astasakhi came in 71. And I came in 71 too, but I didn't join the temple in 71. I was visiting regularly, and I was very cautious. Not philosophically cautious, but practically cautious. I didn't want to do something I didn't think I could do. But I'm going to try to make sure that this is what I really want to do before. Well, those days, in the early 70s, at least probably even more so in the 60s in America, people would come to the temple and that was it. You kind of walk in if you could walk, kind of roll in, try to detoxify, and on a big, huge plate of halwa or something, and get shaved up before you know what was going on. Kind of not an unusual thing. And I was a little bit more cautious for one reason or another. One reason was I was working, and I'd finished my college and everything, so I was a little more kind of like, I don't know, whatever. And I didn't come till 72 to the temple to join, so Astasakhi got second initiation on Trafalgar Square. Now that was 72. I got first initiation at the same time, 72. She spoke about the 73 Rath-yatra. The 72 Rath-yatra was quite astonishing too. Srila Prabhupada didn't dance on the parade, he sat on his Vyasa. it was a first timer. I mean, in Trafalgar Square, you know, full on fire yoga right underneath Lord Nelson. A few candles. We were told we would be lighting a few candles on that one. It was a bit more than a few candles, but anyway. And 73 was another thing altogether. I'll never put that aside. There's many stories about Prabhupada coming in 72, of course in 73. And in 72, Prabhupada stayed in Bury Place for a few weeks, around about the Ratha-Yatra time. It's quite amazing. Staying there in that very crowded place, as Astasakhi said. We were sleeping on the roof, much to the horror of Mr. French, our loving next-door neighbour. It's quite ironic that his name was Mr. French, because to this very day, Mr. French, not that Mr. French, but Mr. French over the water there. It's a funny name. They, somehow or another, we're still kind of a dangerous cult in France, you know. So he thought us like that, you know. And he was horrified when we were sleeping up. Not only that, but we were making incense in the attic up there in Bury Place in 71, 72. I did it first in 71, and eventually they put me in charge of the incense making. But what I want to talk about is the amazing experience of Srila Prabhupada coming through his disciples and through his followers. All of you here, who are such an amazing, you could say, inspiration for us. We're still quite young. We're still, at least we're still able to walk. But you're now the future of this Srila Prabhupada's mercy mission. And it was such an experience when I first came to the temple. I can't remember if it was September or early October. Prabhupada had just been in England in 71, and he left. And I had no idea. I'd never seen a devotee. I didn't know anything about Prabhupada. I'd read a Back to Godhead magazine. And yesterday we were on Harinam. We were going through Chinatown. And I looked down one lane. It's a little kind of narrow lane going towards Charing Cross Road. And I said, that's it. That's the place I got my first book down there. From an occult bookshop. And not from a devotee. I never got any literature from a devotee ever, directly. The first magazines I found, another story, I won't get into it. And then this Krishna book I found in this occult bookshop. It was like the sun shining in the bookshelf. Prabhupada's books with the sun in this dark age. I thought, I've got to get that book. What is it? I bought it. It was volume 2. Oh, I've got to get volume 1. So I looked up the address and I thought, I've got to go to the temple. There's a temple. I've got to get volume 1. So I plucked up the courage after a while. I was working in Kent. I plucked up the courage to go to the temple one day in Bury Place. Mystical experience. I came to Bury Place. I didn't know anything really. I just was into, some kind of pseudo-spirituality that we heard from Arundhati last night, very much mixed with LSD. That's when you really got your spiritual experiences. So we came to the temple, and I didn't know what to do. The door was shut. There was no one around. It was 1 o'clock midday. What to do? I was nervous. No sign, no bell. Just a sign, Radha-Krishna Temple, 7 Bury Place. And a nice sign above as well. A beautiful door. It's very much like today with a doorknob. Not a doorknob, but like a door bowl. And I thought, what to do? I pushed the door gravely. And then lo and behold, the door flung open in front of me. It was like, I didn't even touch it. It just went, ooh. I know, this is mystical. It just flew open. It was mystical. Because on the other side of the door was one of the most amazing devotees, and she's just left the room. Mandakini. She opened the door on the other side. And I can't, even now I'm living in France most of the time, I cannot pronounce French for the life of me. Oh, I know. Paravida was here, he would say it perfectly. Oh, welcome. the right time. I don't know what to make of it. It's prasadam time. What the hell is prasadam? This is how it was in those days, you know. People just assumed, you know, everyone, you know, prasadam, make some prasadam. It was so innocent, so pure, you know, and it was so powerful. I mean, it's just incredible. And she was so, I kept this, who is this person? She was like an angel. And she took me downstairs. She said, please come downstairs. She took me downstairs into the basement. This tiny place. Remember the basement? In Bury Place, it was such a small. I mean, you think this is a temple room, is small. Bury Place is about a sixth of the size, not the temple room, but Prasadam about a sixth of the size of this room. I mean, you had to squeeze in there. 20 devotees were living there at that time, September or beginning of October, 71. And they were all sat there. That's where there was no one around. They were all eagerly down there, you know, honouring Prasadam. And it was, what a sight. I couldn't believe my eyes. I'd never seen a devotee before. There's all these men with their bald heads and their dhotis and these young, all Westerns, young girls with these, you know, they all had the sort of same colour saris in those days. The men all wore nylon, orange dhotis and T-shirts. And it was, most didn't have bead bags. You know, things like that were not there. We talked about poverty, but I'll tell you more about that. Okay, this was fantastic. Because I was a kind of a, you could say, a kind of a periphery hippie. So we kind of like these type of things. The smell, the first thing. This is all Prabhupada. I don't know what you said. I didn't even know, but this is proper Shakti. The smell as the door opened was out of this world. It wasn't smelly socks. I got that one later when I went downstairs. But this smell was incredible. It was unbelievable. It was like this mixture of rich incense, spirit. If you ever seen spiritual sky incense, it's such a powerful smell. I don't know, it's not very refined, but it's such a powerful smell. Mixed with these spices, because they just finished, you know, chancing the dal. You know, Prabhupada taught the devotees how to chance dal, and it had to go boom! You had to slam the lid on it, you know. And the smell would go all throughout the building. Remember that? Sometimes we'd be coughing. To go up to the, I would like that smell, you know. It's a purifying smell. Just like the smoke of the yogis, Prabhupada say. You know, very purifying, you know, you're coughing away. It's incredible mix. This is like another world. One of the reasons the neighbors were so freaked out. Many reasons, but that was one of them. And I went down there, and I remember one devotee. Now this is one devotee that sticks out in my mind, and he was like a magnet. Prabhupada was like, later on I could realize this was Prabhupada's, you know, purity, his love, everything coming through these devotees. Maybe not have known, but this devotee's name was Sananda Kumar. You remember Sananda Kumar?
Oh, I do, yeah.
Yeah, from Hawaii. Balagopal and Sananda Kumar, they were from Hawaii, from Sai's group, you know. They were both there, and he was serving prasadam. Now, so serving prasadam is such a wonderful service, just like is deity worship. We learned that every activity was deity worship. That's what I learned. And I never got much opportunity to go on the altar in my life. Not so much. I could have any time, but I didn't. I saw deity worship in a different light, you could say. It was every service, down to cleaning the garbage can, to cleaning the toilet, to making incense, to going on Sankirtan, to managing a temple, to shaking a bucket for that poor orphan boy, whatever it is. Everything is deity worship. We would go on the street. Never would we go without a picture of Radha-Krishna. Never would we forget Radha-Krishna. And as soon as we came back from Sankirtan, straight into the temple to report to Radha-Krishna what happened on the street. They kicked me out on the street almost straight away. Well, you don't do fall and get out on the street, whatever. And it was just amazing. But that devotee, Sananda Kumar, when I walked in the door with my hair down to my waist and a jeans and t-shirt, and he looked at me, and he was like his face was like a big moon. He had this moon-like face. And there was like this, I didn't know what it was, this like energy coming. And I was just like magnet. And I just kind of walked towards him. He held up his plate. I thought they didn't eat. I was practicing some kind of pseudo-yoga. I thought that the Hare-Krishnas probably don't eat anything. They're yogis. If they eat anything, it might be some macrobiotic rice or something. So I walked in there, and I saw this plate. It was like, no choice, it was like, magnet. My hands went, his hands went, I just, boom, this plate in front of me, with a mountain of rice on there, and a stack of chapatis, which almost fell off. And what am I to do? I just sat down with this mountain of rice and chapatis. Then they gave me a bowl of 1 liter. They had these 1 liter metal bowls, which would be filled to the brim with dal. 1 liter. Exactly. Full to the brim. Put it down next to me. God, I looked at it. I never, ever dreamt of it this much in my life, you know. I was so embarrassed. Everyone around me was like, I mean, it wasn't monkeys, but it was almost like, he was so eager and enthusiastic. That was the secret. Prabhupada is installed. And Astasakhi is unique. She said, I remember one time she mentioned this after class, which I gave one time. Oh, it was so nice and so enthusiastic, she was saying. We were reading from Nectar of Devotion every day. We'd have 5 classes a day. 5. We didn't need a Bhakti Shastri. Prabhupada wanted every day we have classes from his books in the temple, and everybody would come. Huh? You remember that? That was Prabhupada's mood, you know.
Everybody came.
Everybody, unless you were cooking or daily worship, but everyone, temple president, new bhakta, everybody came. It was a family. It was a spirit of family spirit, which Prabhupada had so much light. He said to Yamuna one time, he said, you know, although you boys and girls are mixed up, you don't have any problem, because you're so absorbed 24/7 enthusiastically in trying to serve. And what that means, Astasakhi had a direct feeling with the deities. I never had that, very much, not so much. But we had that through service. Everyone has that opportunity now as much as ever. Through service. Our purpose of being here is to bring pleasure to Srila Prabhupada, which means pleasure to the deity. So that was our mood. And that's what I picked up from all the devotees. It's Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, you know, I didn't know about Prabhupada before I came. I read some book and this and that, and magazines. I didn't know the actual cause or the actual life behind it was Srila Prabhupada, the mercy that he was passing. Even though the devotees had only been, I asked one day, no one spoke to me that day actually, practically speaking, for quite a while. I sat down, somehow or another, all that prasadam went into me. I don't know where it went. And then they came around with seconds. The others were all taking seconds, you know. There was Swayambor and Sambanath. And, you remember Swayambor?
I do, Australia.
Yeah. Australian devotee, Swayambor, and then Sambanath, our lovely Sambanath, who sang so sweetly. He sang like a Gandharva. His voice, I don't know, now he's too shy. But he used to sing every day at midday for the deities. Playing the harmonium in such spirit. It was just everyone just loved it. And there were so many wonderful devotees there. I could mention all their names practically. Dozens of devotees there. Kaushika, Jayahari, Bhumadev, Sarvasarit, Leela Shakti, Bal Gopal, Dhananjaya, of course. I don't think he wasn't in the temple that day. I think he was in Amsterdam at that time, actually. I think so.
When I took over Balagopala's service.
What day? Do you remember the month?
Yeah.
I never saw him when I first went there. Only in 72 I actually got, he became present. When I came, Dayananda was there with Nandarani.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if any of you know Dayananda Nandarani. He was an amazing person. amazing devotee, one of the first devotees on the west coast of America. He was a temple president, just before he came, he just come and was a temple president. And he was an angel. When I saw him, I thought, wow, who is this person? He looks like he's just come down from heaven. He looks so angelic and so wonderful. Anyway, back to Prasadam. As I was about to get up after this, to ask if you had Krishna Book Volume 1 and Bhagavad Gita, before that could happen, it was Swayambhur who came up to me. He said, "Hey, would you like to come for Sankirtan?" I said, "What's Sankirtan?" He said, "It's bliss, it's ecstasy." And that was it. That was it. Bliss and ecstasy. So within seconds, the whole troop was up on their feet, all 15 devotees or so, up on their feet, and with a wave of enthusiasm, they were out the front door. On to first Bury Place, and then New Oxford Street, and then Oxford Street, for 3 or 4 hours of ecstasy and bliss on Sankirtan. Every day in, day out, 6, 7, 8 hours a day on the street.
Up and down.
Up and down.
Up and down.
Ups, and we had our ups and downs. And we were many times, and I mean, my first experience was a little bit shaky. And I wish we had more time, we just don't. Otherwise I'd tell the whole story. It was quite an experience. Amazing experience. But I'm going to get back to the devotees because that's kind of my experience. Just to see these devotees, the enthusiasm, the beautiful presence of Bhumadev. If we don't know. I mean, this is, Prabhupada, all Prabhupada's mercy coming through these devotees, So many wonderful, wonderful devotees. Koshika and Jai Hari. Now you're having a program tomorrow for book distribution. I don't know, I only heard, I knew in 71, 72, but I heard before that, Jai Hari Prabhu, who was born in Pakistan, a Muslim family. He was the #1 book distributor. He would go out, they had some big books before, they run out by 72, but before that they had big books. And he would distribute big books. And he was the top book distributor in England. He was so enthusiastic, sort of brilliant communicator. He was able to communicate with people like Spike Milligan, all kinds of important people. He was unique, but he had this Shakti. Prabhupada appreciated all these wonderful, like with Leela Shakti. I mean, I have never seen, other than Pankaj Jangali and Janani Vas, with such dedication to the deities as Leela Shakti had. It was so day and night. She lived for the deities. That was her whole life, was how to please the deities. There was nothing else. I didn't see anything else. I mean, when you were there in 72, you may remember, I was kind of temple commander for quite a long time there. 72, and Radha-Krishna then at one point became the president, but he was never there, if you remember. Never there, so it was on my shoulders. Half of it was on Astasakhi and, with the ladies and me, trying to sort the thing out. Anyway, it was such a wonderful experience. And how the devotees lived together, and although we were so, honestly speaking, I felt when I first came to the temple, some of the devotees there, I could mention names, but I won't. I could never stay with these people. They were so, natures were just so different. It's so different. And that's why. But then, when you absorb, surrender to the service, cleaning, everybody cleaned together, everyone chanted together, everyone attended classes, took prasadam, went for Sankirtan, went through the ups and downs, the austerities, everything was collective, together. Even, as Astasakhi was saying, when George Harrison came, I didn't know that actually, but she was saying when he saw the ladies, how they were living, he said, this is ridiculous, unbearable, this is terrible, intolerable. He got it. I didn't even know that, but I'll tell you, when I first came, and I don't know how it was for the ladies, that was another department, but for the men, We had 2 times a week laundry, only. We had 1 dhoti each, 1 t-shirt and a jumper, and no shoes. If you were lucky, you had a pair of thongs, or flip-flops, what you call it now, or what then, or whatever.
Even in winter.
In winter.
Yeah.
In winter, no socks, no hot water at all, 0, no mattress, no cushion, nothing, nothing like this. Unallowed, disallowed, married right away. Right? He wants a cushion? Get married. Lie on your wife. That's what it was. And it was it was blissful. Believe it? It's almost unbelievable, isn't it? It was so fun, wasn't it? Prabhupada wrote us a letter one time, but our party. Prabhupada Vishnu, and he wasn't there, he was in France when I came first. He was back to Paul. And there were 3 Pauls when I first came. There were 3 Jeffs, 3 Davids. So many young people were just... I was old. When I came, I was 22 years old. I was old. The first person I actually spoke to, I said, "What's your name?" He said, "David." I said, "How long have you been here?" He said, 3 months. I said, "Wow, 3 months." Whew. It was like a long time for us, 3 months. Back to David. There were 3 Davids, and you never even heard their names. Never even know one of them. One of them is a sannyasi now. His name is Dear Shanta. He just joined. We joined at the same time. Dear Shanta, Diranga, Diranayaka. All Davids.
Yeah.
All from the West Country. So many devotees, Bhumadev also so many from the West Country joined at that time.
Yeah. And then we had Tribhuvannath from
Ireland. He was in Scotland, he wasn't around.
Yeah.
We didn't get him until 72, popped in. But
Yeah.
it is such a spirit of Sankirtan. Now, one person who comes here now, and he's had for whatever reason, some problems, and he's not here at the moment, but he was coming, maybe he doesn't come in there, Sarva Sarit. Huh? He may have passed away. He was the Sankirtan leader when I came. Every day on Oxford Street, Hari, morning and afternoon. So enthusiastic. That service never goes in vain. Every little, as to was saying, Prabhupada, every little bit of service Krishna notices, even if it's just a little bit. Everybody on Oxford Street, we just came back from Harinam in Oxford Street, every person who sees that Harinam is blessed by Krishna. Everyone. They may not have a clue what's going on here. They don't care. But they get a tiny little, a big really, blessing from Krishna. What to speak of those wonderful souls who come to this movement to assist Srila Prabhupada. Knowingly or unknowingly, we didn't know it. It was just a spirit of, wow, communal. So the laundry would go twice a week. 1 or 2 boys would take it to the laundry, squeeze it into all the laundry into one barrel. It would come out, worse than a reef. It's all tangled and twisted and half dry and half wet, and bring it back in a big sack, and throw it on the floor of the prasadam room downstairs after prasadam. And you'd have to grovel through all of this stuff to find one screwed up dhoti and one screwed up t-shirt, and that was about it, and whatever else was there. Some underwear. Underwear also went for the laundry. You didn't wear underwear whilst it was at the laundry. It doesn't mean you were naked. You had a pair of jeans whilst it was at the laundry. If you had nothing else to wear, we mostly just put jeans on. And it was all communal. Toothpaste was communal, soap was communal, toothbrushes, you could try to keep your own, but it wouldn't last. It was just unbelievable. You can't imagine. But it was actually, Prabhupada wrote this letter and said, it is so austere. We were traveling on Sankirtan in 72. Prabhupada Vishnu started the first traveling Sankirtan party in Europe. And it was a real motley crew. There was one man, I can't remember, Acharya I think his name was, an Indian man. There was Jai Hari and somebody, Jagat Bandhu or somebody. Another wonderful young adult. Maybe he still comes here, Kevin. Does he? Great. He's amazing. He was amazing. He was so enthusiastic on Sankirtan. We had nothing. When I came to the I wouldn't have said boo to a goose. I would probably run away if I'd seen a goose. But I was so timid. But there we were, running on the streets. Please take a book, please take a book, please take a book, please take a book. I didn't know what to say,
We used to bow down.
Bow down to people, please.
We did, literally.
Please give a donation. I've got no shoes. Sometimes people will give a donation because you have no shoes. It was phenomenal. I mean, people would come up to you. Look, I don't care less about what you guys are doing. I don't like seeing people walking with no shoes. Take a donation.
We used to have odd shoes.
Odd shoes, if you were lucky, yeah. Odd ones, odd everything. We were so, in one sense, totally out of this world, Day by day, I mean, Brisinga, like Brisinga's now Bhakti Nrsimha Maharaj, was the most miserly treasurer. They thought I was tight, but my God, was he tight. Was he tight?
He shaved from Vishnu half a head.
Yeah.
Told him to go out
go and leaflets, gave him some leaflets, go out and collect for the razor blade, because the razor blade was cutting his head open. Blood running down his head. And he had to go out and collect with a flick. He was such a miser. But I can say one thing, he was amazing. That day he was the only devotee who preached to me anything worth hearing. And he opened up the Bhagavad Gita and he showed me a verse, and that verse convinced me. It was Prabhupada commentary. It was kind of took a different field, but the verse, because those days they never had the full Gita. It was a bridge version, kind of purple color. Didn't have all the purports in, so he just wrote some verses. Read some verses, and this verse, Yavan art udapane sarvatak sampaltodike, you may know that verse, second chapter. All purposes served by the Vedas are automatically, if you know the purpose behind the Vedas, all the purposes of the Vedas are automatically served. Similarly, or whatever purposes are served by a small pond are automatically in a great reservoir. So it convinced me, because I thought, wow, Krishna, I just was thinking, he must be the great reservoir. So if we take shelter of Krishna, all desires will be fulfilled. That's what I gleaned from that, and I was so overwhelmed. So then anyway, after this amazing experience on Sankirtan, I got about halfway, Marble Arch. It took about an hour and a half, 2 hours or something to get there. And I thought, I got to go back. I'm not going to tell the whole story, there's a lot to it, but I gave the Madunga back to Swinburne. Gave me the Madunga to play. Imagine coming on your first day and they give you the Madunga to play. I haven't played it since. He gave me the Madunga. I have played it a bit, not much. I gave him the Madunga, and I just quickly raced down the underground. I've escaped. And I went back to Bury Place. And lo and behold, I got back to Bury Place and nobody was there. Only Leela Shakti was there. Oh, she spoke some English. She wasn't that bad. You made it sound like she was illiterate.
No, but not enough to hold a conversation.
She wouldn't speak. She didn't. She was very shy about speaking. I would rather say she was more shy to speak than.
Yeah.
She was very, very educated lady. She was very sophisticated, very wonderful devotee. So she said, "Oh, we'll go back already?" I said, "Oh yeah. I've got to go. I've got to get back to work." I said something. So I said, "Before you go, come downstairs." What's happening? Well, I got to go downstairs. My coat's downstairs. I was lucky; it was still there. And I went downstairs because those days, if you left your coat and shoes there, you may not find it. Yeah, it was known. It was all over the hippie world. It was known. If you need a new pair of shoes, a new coat, go to the Hare-Krishna temple. Help yourself. They didn't have CTV or whatever you call it in those days. And I was still there by Krishna's arrangement. So then she said, "Come, just before you go, take some prasadam." She gave me another plate of prasadam. I took this fruit offering, 4:15. And it was, I thought, my God, they put LSD in this. My head started spinning. I thought, what's going on here? Apples, pears, bananas, it's just ordinary fruit, And there was something special in there. Well, Prabhupada, we didn't know anything. He's injected Krishna's mercy into everything we do. So then, after I got to go, Walked upstairs, then Janananda came down the stairs. Can you help me, please? Could you please help me? Very sweetly. What would you like? I'm trying to make a package incense. All right then. So I went upstairs in the attic, or the room under the attic actually, for an hour and a half, packing incense into spiritual sky packets. It was ecstatic. Can you imagine? It was the spirit. It was Prabhupada's spirit, the mood, Srila Prabhupada's mood, which is driving this movement. It's not doing things. It's Prabhupada's spirit which pervades every nook and cranny of this movement. That spirit which Astasakhi so nicely revealed to us, of living only for the pleasure of the deities, only for the pleasure of Guru Gauranga. I didn't know, but I could feel the enthusiasm of the devotees, of just wanting everyone to be engaged in assisting Prabhupada. That's mercy, that's compassion. To engage people in service in Prabhupada's movement. This is the highest practical compassion. We may not be very elevated in consciousness, but this is it. We don't know. We're following the mood of a pure devotee. And every devotee in that temple was so enthusiastic. So enthusiastic. We go on and on, naming one after the next. Even personalities, extraordinary personalities like Padma Lochhan. You remember Padma Lochhan?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
What an extremely extraordinary personality.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll say more.
Absolutely.
Extreme. But he became one of the most exceptionally advanced devotees in our movement.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have imagined it. The first experience I had of him was rolling across the floor in the basement at prasadam time, beating the living daylights out of Dirunayaka. They were punching each other like anything, rolling across the floor, having loving exchanges. Mixed with a few of the indirect rasas. They overcame it. It was all over gulabs and samosas. Be careful, Sunday feast. If you don't serve yourself and serve the guests gulabs, you might end up in trouble. Anyway, those were fun. Ecstatic days. Prabhupada said to you is just fun. Although it is so austere. So austere. You know. And it was. You get up in the morning. In the latest, we were lucky, you had a separate bathroom, right?
Yeah, we had Shiva Prabhupada.
Yeah, well, we didn't have. The shower was in the only brahmachari. We had one brahmachari room, and the shower was inside it.
Yeah, but we had to lose it like Shiva.
I know you did. We had a shift system down yellow slope, and then there was this kind of pipe that came up the wall with this jet of cold water that flew out of it, and there was a curtain which you crossed when you're in there, and some of us were so bad they would just turn the tap on, stand to the side and turn the tap on and go so everyone thought they were taking a shower, but they were not necessarily taking a shower. They're really clever. Anyway, so we'd have a shift system. So I don't know about the ladies, but one devotee asked Prabhupada, how is it possible? I go to daily worship. The men are up there, and I've got to take a shower. So Prabhupada said, take a shower the night before, and then just wash your hands and face and feet, or whatever you can do, and then do daily worship. Sometimes you don't even have a chance to take full shower before doing daily worship in the morning. And another thing Prabhupada did there, because we were a little bit short-manned, so this is 72 now, but we're a little bit short-manned, and there were two Indian girls there. I think one was named Rashmi. Do you remember? Two from Nairobi? Two sisters, twins maybe. They looked so much alike. Two beautiful Kenyan girls were staying in London at that time. They were not initiated at that time. And Prabhupada asked them to cook for the deities. They were cooking the Raj Bhog offering for Radha Londonishwar. They were not even first initiated. And Prabhupada can do that. We can't do that. But he was just so... He was seeing their hearts. He wasn't just seeing the threads hanging, but ladies don't have threads. He wasn't just seeing the externals. He was seeing the internals. He could see your sincerity, your purpose, your intent. Anyway, we run out of time. It's now 7 o'clock, or is it a different time? I know what's maybe wrong, I don't know. 7 o'clock, isn't it? Pardon? Yeah, well, I haven't started yet. That was the introduction. We're going to talk about Prabhupada a little bit more, but that was just a warm-up to getting...
Were you there for the launch of the Bhagavad Gita in 73?
The launch of it? No.
And then she
second there.
So we would like to possibly make an exception right now. I'm finding so much nectar here that Jai Shri Shri Radha Nandaneshwara ki Jagat Baladev Subhadra Devi ki Shri Shri Gauranitai ki Giriraj Maharaj ki
Hare Bo, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Nandaneshwara ki Jai. I would like to make an exception and suggest we schedule on another occasion.